Well, everybody, welcome towards the end of an eclipse cycle. And it's not going to be this particular week. We have eclipse season coming up, but tomorrow, if you're watching this on the 26th of February, welcome. And tomorrow is the Pisces new moon. So it's the last lunar cycle before the eclipse season. And actually, we're going to have an eclipse, a lunar eclipse within this lunar cycle. But welcome to Pisces, everybody. We're going to be talking about from the 27th of February to the 5th of March. We go from Thursday to Wednesday every week. And we always talk about the influence. We try to get the main gist, take in all of the considerations and get you kind of packaged into what are you going to feel? And what is everyone else going to feel? So you can kind of try to predict what other people might be doing. But then we're going to be triangulating for the solution as well. That's later in the video. And for me, that's the most important part of the video. It's one thing to feel or know what to expect to feel. It's another thing to consciously kind of envision what you're going to do with your time, your behaviors, how you're going to react to certain things. But for now, the influence. And we have the new moon. That's sun and moon together, and that's going to be in Pisces. There's a whole lot of activity in Pisces, as you can imagine. Saturn, Mercury, North Node, Neptune. Mercury's sort of a central theme, probably like the number 2 character in this week, because he is going to do a lot of things that are going to create a shift. So at first, you're going to have the new moon. Then you're going to have Mercury heading into over the North Node, over Neptune, and then shift into Aries. That's why I have Mercury here twice. And the reason there's 2 different circles here is because this green arrow is much more active. This is the dream bot. The collective unconscious is demonstrating a collective that is very active. It's like the morning hustle bustle. It's like, we got to hurry up. We got there late. We need a destination. We have a job to do. We got school to go to. It's all there in the dream bot. So it's very active. And it does represent the new moon. So this circle does include the new moon, which is in Pisces. So we're looking for motivational energies, and we get that in the new moon and the waning, waxing crescent moon phase. It's like the whole week. We also have Mars direct from last week's. It's still direct in Cancer, but we also have Aries, Mercury at the end of the week going into Aries. It's going to be a big shift in our thoughts. Venus is already there. So there's kind of the gist. And then the I-Ching says humility, modesty. Well, that's like mainly Pisces, which is like absolutely dominant at the very first part of our week. So as you can imagine, we're going to have a shift. We're going to have a shift towards after the weekend ends. This is when Mercury leaves. Moon is already left Pisces and starts in on the waxing crescent, and it's going to shift more towards a yang thing. But I'm going to talk all about that. But overall, this little overlap is the new moon, and so it's the new moon in Pisces with a delayed step on the gas. And what I mean by that is typically on a new moon, it's a new start. So it can be very motivating. But in this, Pisces is so dominant that I think we're going to be just sitting in intuitiveness, connectedness, emotions, mysticism, dreams, fantasy, potentially some escapism. So it's not going to be your traditional Kung Pao new moon. It's going to be very soupy, potentially very satisfying for a lot of us. A lot of insights, a lot of boundaryless existence. So you're kind of morphing your aura into others, maybe conceptually or really physically, but nonetheless, very Pisces dominant. Humility, modesty is a great a descriptor for Pisces. So that's the first part of the week. And then I think Dreambot is all about more of the second half of the week, but also the new moon is the very start of it. So anyway, there's going to be a shift and a shear. We'll talk all about it. Let's get started. A big shout out to Mary S. Everyone liked your comment. You win the best comment award, Mary S. And comments with just loving Mars, and that had to feel good. It did feel good towards the end of last CIRF week when Mars ended its retrograde and started to move forward in Cancer. Let's go to the Dreambot, but congratulations, Mary S. Well deserved. And there was a lot of honorable mentions, a lot of people with very close scores. But here's the Dreambot. Number one word is child. Linguistics, child, dance, morning. Child dancing. Can you kind of get that vibe? It's very naive, unassuming, not held back, not conditioned in any way, just sort of da 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 da, here I go. And it's kind of, remember, this is representative of people's dreams. These are the most common dream words in the most recent dreams around the world, which to me represents the collective unconscious. And it doesn't really matter why they're dreaming what they're dreaming. It's just the fact that they are. We could be seeing a mass propaganda machine. We'll see people's dreams kind of swaying towards the propaganda that we didn't even know was playing in the background or whatever. It doesn't matter, but I mean, it could be the collective unconscious is actually seeing something intuitively into the future without any propaganda or not. And so we've seen that as well. And in this case, it's very active. So, like dance, but look at the blue arrows: morning, late, destination, early, scene, job, and then even sit and stand, campus. I mean, it's all like hustle bustle, the morning hustle bustle. Number two, linguistics: turned, fire, game, world, food. That's towards the bottom of the dream run, but I mean, these are pretty big surge scores. So just because they're at the bottom does not mean they're less important necessarily. All right. Well, it's very active, and so keep that in mind. That it might be foreseeing that kind of towards the end of the week where Mercury is stepping on the gas and waxing crescent moon and all that. But anyway, very active. So here's the new moon in Pisces right here at the end of our February. And then we have March. Welcome to March 2025. The big picture, you've got the eclipse on the 14th of March. That's in Virgo. Full moon lunar eclipse. And then the new moon solar eclipse is on the 29th. I think it's on the 29th. I can hardly read my own handwriting. Solar eclipse. New moon in Aries. All right. So coming down to just this week, just the first week in March, not even a week in March. Here's the big news. I've got a circle around all of the Mercury aspects, and there's actually more, but these are the big ones. Mercury in moving into Aries. You've got the end of Mercury conjunct Saturn, but it's still in effect. You have Mercury conjunct with Neptune, and what's not even there is Mercury conjunct North Node. So a lot of activity. The first character is going to be the moon, new moon. The second character you're going to see all week is Mercury. But here's kind of your energy intensities as we go along in the week, starting on Thursday. This blue represents Pisces. It's very Pisces. Lots of emotion, togetherness, connectedness, intuitiveness, boundaryless, all that, spiritualism. And it's starting to die off now as Pisces, not completely. I mean, there's still a heavy amount of Pisces, a majority amount of Pisces, even towards the last part of the week. But this is where Mercury on Monday goes into Aries. And of course, Mercury is not the only one in Aries. So I'm not really sure if this intensity is accurate, like if it's going to supersede Pisces by the end of the week, but it's going to be close. It might be a little less dominant. It might depend on your own little natal chart. All right, on Thursday, new moon in Pisces at 6:44 p.m. right here at 9 degrees, 41 minutes. Making sure I'm recording. That would suck. All right. This is where we experience the deep dive into the realms of intuition, empathy, and collective oneness, where we go one, we go all. And during this time is a heightened sensitivity to the energies and emotions of others. It's making it a very ideal period for practicing things such as meditation, dream work, creative pursuits. Remember, this is the new moon, so we're setting an intention and ceremonially setting some goals for the month. That's about the length of time for this Pisces new moon. And at the end of this lunar period, this Pisces, ruled by Pisces, we're going to have that eclipse. And we're going to start a new eclipse cycle. So this is kind of the ending. And that's apropos for Pisces because Pisces is the end of the zodiac, the last of the zodiac. So that's cosmically beautiful to see that synergy. But with the goals and intentions for this new moon ceremony, you might consider things such as spiritual growth, inner healing, balancing out the relationships. And I have this new moon is going to be in a Rave reading, a Rave mandala reading that you're not going to want to miss. You need to listen to this, especially if you have an imbalance in relationships. But regardless, for all of us, we need relationship. And this Rave reading is going to show you how to balance it out. So absolute perfect time for that Rave reading. But anyway, balancing out relationships is something that you could make a goal for. You could foster compassion, maybe boost up your volunteer work for this month. You could do dream work, dream therapy, study spiritual traditions of any interest, daily loving kindness practice, create a home altar for future spiritual practices, sensory deprivation therapies or type work, unify and togetherness, forgiveness protocols, anything like that. And then the archetype for our month is the intuitive dream weaver, the compassionate healing empath, the imaginative spiritual seeker, the sensitive cosmic channeler. So we might see a heightened amount of channelings from the other side, other dimensions, or within from the collective unconscious. The empathic boundary dissolver. Love it. So anyway, a great time for spiritual advancement and reflecting on the eclipse cycle, the last 6 months, or the last 5 months at this point. All right, then on Friday, the 28th, I want to highlight the focus on the sextiles. There's quite a few of them. And because I don't have lines going to the North Node, you're not seeing one of the lines there. And it's the very end of the Neptune sextile. So there's 5 sextiles here if we include the North Node at the time or just shortly after, the day after the new moon. You still have the moon in Pisces, but you have big change. So sextiles are opportunistic. These represent opportunities. It's the energy when you combine one side of the sextile with the other side. And so one of the biggest archetypes of Uranus is change. And if you've got change opportunities to a new moon, a fresh new moon, a waxing crescent moon, also Saturn and discipline and, just making things right. And then you've got thoughts and communication. You've got the future and purpose. And then you've got dreams and illusion. But all these are opportunistic. You can dream about these new changes in a context of Taurus, so an earth sign, and it's a change in the material world. So lots of change opportunities coming for the collective unconscious. Look at your dreams, the future, thoughts, the rules, government. Everything's opportunistically changing. On Saturday, this is where Mercury is over the North Node. It's at 27 degrees, 24 minutes. It's a powerful confluence of energies related to everything Pisces. Spiritual growth, intuitive understanding, pursuit of higher purpose. North Node represents the karmic path going forward. And it's in Pisces, so it's our collective path also going forward. Mercury in Pisces enhances intuitive perception and allows for deep understanding of the intelligible realms. In intangible realms, conjunct with the North Node brings a strong karmic pull of spiritual idealism, intuitive sacrificing, and emotional fluidity. Neptune's influence, and we're going to be talking more about that in the next slide, but Neptune is also conjunct and brings the imaginative and visionary qualities of the alignment, say fantasy idealism, can be coming in through dreams or illusions or daydreaming, opening up channels for divine inspiration and creative expression. This archetype with Mercury over the North Node is the intuitive spiritual guide, the inspired divine messenger. You're going to get messages from the future, imaginative karmic finder. Whew. Think of those channelings. Think about a channeler for you, a psychic who's got Mercury over the North Node. That would be one that would help you see the future. All right, Sunday on the 2nd, this is where Mercury now is over the Neptune. 28 degrees, 57 minutes. It goes exact at 10:21 a.m. Central Standard Time. But the other big news is that Sun square Jupiter. Let's line that out. I didn't circle it, but it's right here. It goes exact at 12:18 p.m., just a couple of hours later. And that's an important one to remember because it represents a tense exchange between the desire for spiritual growth and the expansion of knowledge and communication. It's in the sign, Jupiter's in the sign of Gemini. So it's about expanding understanding, expanding knowledge, higher level learning, optimistically searching and seeking more learning. And it's a kind of a pressure of it. So it's not just, oh, yay, want to go learn stuff. It's like, I have to go learn stuff. Next. You may feel with this square, Jupiter squares Sun, the ability to bridge spiritual insights with practical knowledge, opportunities for personal growth through intellectual and spiritual pursuits, maybe some enhanced creativity, the ability to communicate ideas effectively, or you might gain more understanding as you talk. One of those. All right, and then on Monday, this is when the shift sort of happens. There's a shift especially in the world of mind and thinking and even travel. Like metaphorically, it's the stepping on the gas, and that's commensurate with, well, the waxing crescent moon is increasing in illumination, and so getting more vigorous. stepping on the gas. And then in the background, you also remember Mars that is now direct. So compared to the retrograde, that's another bump of gas pushing. So 3 of those together, we have a shift in the energy of especially communication, thought processes, mental pursuits. Mercury is the planet of intellect and communication, gains a more assertive, direct, and spontaneous quality when it enters the bold and action-oriented Aries. There's your picture. During this transit, individuals may experience a heightened sense of mental agility, quick thinking, desire to take decisive action based on your ideas. Communications become more straightforward. There's a tendency to speak one's mind without hesitation. This is the bold idea generator, the spontaneous verbal trailblazer, the pioneering intellectual crusader. So you can see why that shift in energy, but it's important to note it's not void of Pisces. You still have Neptune, North Node, Saturn, and Sun. The most dominant energy in the zodiac, Sun. So there's a lot of Pisces still, but mentally it shifts. And of course, Venus is already there in Aries as well. On Tuesday the 4th, I want to point out the waxing crescent moon is over Uranus. And so for this day, on Tuesday the 4th of March, this lunar transit, it's really going to focus on those changes that we talked about before. We still have some sextiles over Uranus. And it's going to be a very emotional change. Look on Tuesday the 4th, big opportunistic emotional changes. And if things aren't changing on this day, the yearning, undeniably, in a lot of us are wanting lots of change, lots of emotions over, lots of urges towards more change. Even if we have lots of change, you're going to want more change. Or some of you will want it to go back, change back. That's called homeostasis. There's always, whenever there's big change, automatically you're going to see a homeostasis influence take over. And it's going to want to put it back the way it was before. That's pretty much every time there's change, particularly in like social environments or family. It comes from family psychotherapy, where anytime there's change, the homeostasis, it's not people that are, bullheaded, but I mean, that is a factor. It's just a conceptual dynamic that resists change and wants to put it back. So it keeps people from positive change as well. So watch out for homeostasis in this change. But this emotional unlocking, big opportunities for material and financial matters for the betterment of the collective. Okay? Synergistic with all the others. Now, who's our character again? Well, Mercury. We've done this. Mercury's had, 4 or 5 very big alignments so far. This is the last one, but this is also a huge one. Mercury sextile Pluto. So again, opportunity, but it's at 3 degrees of Aries. That's Mercury. And then Pluto is at 3 degrees, exactly 3 degrees of Aquarius. So this represents a very dynamic and transformative energy. It's an opportunistic. Mercury is exhibiting Aries boldness and confidence and opportunistically aligned to Pluto, the planet of power, intensity, and transformation, residing in the innovative and forward-thinking sign of Aquarius. This is a time of powerful communication and mentally transformative breakthroughs. Possible archetypes. Well, first of all, you can say goodbye to the status quo because Pluto transforms everything in terms of thoughts and speech. This is representative of the Aries mind. Can be defensive or offensive thinking, but it wants to know the truth because that's the Pluto in Aquarius, and it's going to tear in and find it. It's symbolizing the opening of the curtains to see what's behind the curtains, unafraid. So we have the fearless truth seeker. We have the intellectual power broker. We have the revolutionary thought leader coming to the fore. All right, real quick, the I-Ching reading was for the influence, hexagram 15 with 2 change lines. This, in my opinion, is much stronger. This was the humility and modesty is much stronger at the beginning and middle of the week when Pisces is extremely powerful. Still does carry all the way to the end of our week, though. Signifies humility, grace, and a balanced approach to life. It suggests a time for inner reflection, curbing arrogance, and recognizing one place in the large scheme of things. And as far as the arrogance goes, not accusing Aries and Mercury and Aries of being arrogant, but that's one of the possibilities when Mercury goes into Aries. This will be one of the shifts. You see a little bit more arrogance across the board. But at the beginning of the week especially, this line speaks to the importance of being modest, even when in a position of influence or authority. It suggests that true strength lies in humility, and that acting with humility will bring good fortune. This is not to say we're getting into the solution. These are just the change lines. This line suggests that modesty has been carried out in its highest form. It indicates a person who is not only humble in their actions, but also in their thoughts and intentions. So there you have the influence. So let's summarize it so we can get to the solution. There we go. Our 2 pictures. You have the beginning of Pisces, and she's this mystical picture representing Pisces is all the way to the end of our week, but mind kind of enters into this more dominant role. The CIRF week begins with a very strong Pisces new moon, gifting humanity with a new lunar phase that promises strong, harmonizing, intuitive emotions. The mutable water dominates early, but begins to decay when Moon and Mercury eventually exit Pisces. By the end of the CIRF week, impulsive and bold thoughts engage with revolutionary and transformative ideas and communication. Remember also, this is all week, quietly in the background, Mars is direct at the onset of the week. So these strong motivational energies synergize with the aspiring emotions of the waxing moon. All right. Now you ready for the solution? Put the change lines in. You get hexagram 22, and it's grace and beauty. It asks you to pay attention to your appearance, the persona, I guess. This isn't necessarily about vanity, but rather about presenting yourselves in a way that is pleasing and appropriate for the situation. Just appropriateness socially. Refined manners, diplomacy and tact, finding beauty and simplicity. That's sort of a match to humility and modesty. All right, our conversion chart is at 9 degrees Pisces in tropical. But if we find the Rave, it's 37. Can't wait to show you that. And we get Sidereal Aquarius. So if you were able to see the new moon, you would see it if you go outside and look up in the sky, you would see it in Aquarius. So that's why we do Sidereal for our solution. All right, you may want to pause the video and get yourself a coffee and settle in. I'm going to talk in depth about Rave Mandala 37. And this is important because the new moon happens. And so this 30-day lunar cycle stamps from the perspective of this Rave line, meaning that you're going to be toiling with this not just for that one day of the new moon, but also all 30 days. So this is a very important thing, and until we get to the eclipse. So this is a foot stomper, you know. All right, what do we have? Line 5 of gate 37 means love, natural and unaffected devotion to the family. But there's an incremental side, the natural harmony and perfected sharing. Natural harmony and sharing possible through friendship. This is the sensation that you get when it's easy. You meet somebody and you just easily get really synergistic, and it's deep understanding and it's clarity, and there's nothing rough and there's no power struggles or anything, or no judgment. But then it gets so harmonious, so connected, that now we start to see emotional dependency that often turns love into hatred. How many times have you seen this dynamic to where what happened to the love? Well, I'm going to show you how to use this line to keep your relationships balanced. It says the possibility of dependency turning love into hate. It becomes emotionally dependent on the other. Okay, so how does this work? First of all, this love combination is called the sacred balance of the human connection. It's important to know the archetypes of the increment and decrement. The increment is Venus, so that represents the beauty of having a seamless and very harmonious energetic flow between family and friends. It's effortless, unconditional resonance. It's a healthy form of, if you want to call it enmeshment, it's just like it's a yearning just to be in proximity with that person because things are so resonant. It's a healthy form of enmeshment, easy flow of harmonious thought and conversation. But on the decrement, this is when, as the relationship gets even closer and more boundaryless enmeshment happens, it naturally can turn emotionally dependent. Now, what does that mean? It's when you have emotional needs in self where you may not even know it, but the subconscious is perceiving an inadequate love from the other. In other words, why aren't they supplying this need? Oh, it must be because they don't love me. And all this is more of a subconscious thing. It's not like you're consciously saying this. But this is the early signs of how love is turning into hate. So that's our opportunity for making it more balanced. Expectations. So this is still the Mars decrement. Expectations tend to increase from the other as sort of like a proving that they love me again. And it gets very passive aggressive, possibly. Power struggles ensue with or without your conscious awareness. It doesn't really matter. But just strife and feeling controlled by the other is at the very end of the continuum. So love, in that case, literally turns to hate. All right. And it can happen very slowly, or it can happen very quickly. But how to balance it out? All right. So let's keep this as simple as possible. Number one, stay conscious of when natural harmonious flow, that's Venus in the increment, starts shifting towards expectation and emotional dependency, Mars. Like, there's what I forgot to say was like, when you have an emotional need and you don't say the need, but because before you had the natural harmony, so you didn't need to say it. But now, that connection didn't happen for whatever reason. But it's assumed that they didn't do it because they didn't love you. So now it start to expect of the other. All right. So, so when feeling emotionally unsatisfied or resentful, look first at your own increased expectations rather than the other person's failure to meet them. Okay. Now, be careful though. This line isn't about deciding whether or not a relationship is right for you. That's not what we're doing here. We're already assuming you're in a relationship where, at least at one point or currently, there's these periods or all the time of just beautiful harmony. It's easy harmony. You get each other. You understand. You don't, there's telepathy happening almost. There's reading of the minds. But that's ironically where emotional dependency comes from, because before I didn't have to really say my need. The need was just fulfilled. And so now we're having to say the need, or passive aggressively trying to convey it. And that's going to be out of your conscious awareness. So how to balance it? Let's use an example here. Let's say you and a close friend naturally fell into a pattern of having deep conversations every Sunday afternoon. It flowed beautifully and effortlessly. That's Venus. And it flowed for months. And it was easy. And this one Sunday, they can't make it because of other commitments. And you find yourself feeling hurt and thinking, if they really cared, they'd prioritize our time together. That is the Mars decrement that's beginning. Expectations are increasing. If only they did this thing, then I would be able to be happy. That's emotional dependency is starting. So in the recommendation to get to balance, I'm shifting from enjoying our natural flow to now creating expectations of emotional dependency, or my perception of what love would look like. Rather than focusing on their failure to meet your need, recognize your own shift from appreciation to dependency, okay? And allow that natural ebb and flow to resume without adding pressure. So there is a balance. Now, Mars isn't just the bad side here, the conflicted side. It's also using Mars in a healthy way. And that looks like making sure there are boundaries in the relationship. Every healthy relationship has some form of hopefully consciously chosen boundaries, or time away from each other, enough time to get things together, meet my own needs, and then come back together as a whole instead of dependent on the other. All right, so that's it. Let's go to the solution. 9. There we go. All right. We're going to synergize the overlaps, find the overlaps between I-Ching 22, grace and beauty, looking good and being proper. Also, the sacred balance of the connection. We talked all about that in the Rave. We have Sidereal Aquarius. So when you carry out any behavior in an Aquarian way, and a Sidereal Aquarius is going to be doing whatever they're doing unconventionally, intellectually, progressively, open-mindedly, eccentrically, unpredictably, rebelliously. And then we have the new moon and a resulting waxing crescent moon. So, number 1, wake up to the new moon, a time of intentional change, balancing out your relationships, and ensuring your honorable and proper place in humanity's trajectory. Boy, that's incorporating all that we talked about. Set your goals for the next couple of weeks: spiritual inner work, emotional healing, service to humanity. Relationships is actually in there as a possibility. And we talked about how you can use the Rave to help you assess what you need to do to enhance that balance. Number 3, in Aquarius style, rebelliously bring out the best in you, pull down the mask, bring your talents. We're trying to correlate the how to get Aquarius and I-Ching 22 together, because it's almost like 22 wants you to put your mask on, or your persona on, and be somebody. Well, I think the best form of grace and beauty is just being yourself, and that's very Aquarian as well. Finding your own weirdness, just bringing that out authentically. Bring your talents, contribute your strengths. Let humanity bathe in your pure, authentic self. There is no better grace and beauty. Okay? And number 4, meditate on Rave 37.5. That sounds like I'm only focusing on that one, but really that does cover all these 3. Balance out your core relationships. All right, social meter this week. Number 1, the I-Ching Grace and Beauty is definitely more of a social kind of a protocol, and number 2 is all about relationships. So yeah, it's definitely more social. New moon, waxing crescent could go either way. I think it might slightly go towards social, but 4 is, I mean, it's friends. It can be adaptable, it can be friendly, but ironically, Aquarians would like to be alone. So, but it's not dictating you can't be together. So that should be a double-headed arrow. So I think overall it is a little bit more social type of solution this week. And then yin or yang, this is the beginning. Just because out of the merit of the new moon and the waxing crescent, it's starting very low, very yin, and throughout the week gets more yang. And this is probably about as max as it goes as far as yang goes, just because there's so much of planets in the water sign. So there you go. I think it's going to get very yang as far as the new moon and the waxing crescent. It is going to feel like putting the gas on, and might even go back in your seat a little bit as accelerates towards yang this week. This meter may be more appropriate up in the influence. I don't know. Might move it up there. But social is more behavioral. All right. That's all I have, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful new moon period and you surf this energy like a pro. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next week as we get closer to eclipse season. Take care, everybody. Namaste.